Welcome back to the channel, folks, and another sunny day out here in beautiful North Florida. If you're new to the channel, my name is Brad, and what we're doing out here is we're converting 20 acres of raw land into a multi-generational homestead. So in that white house behind me, we just moved my parents in from the Northeast. They've been here probably 7 or 8 days. They're still getting settled in, but they're starting to find their rhythm, starting to find their way around the house. But now it's time to start getting back to projects out here on Piney Grove. We've got a long list of projects to do. We do a lot of tractor work, a lot of excavator work, just a lot of building and developing this property. But I've got a big washout where the dormer comes off of this house. That dormer sheds water to either the left or right side of it, or both the left and right side of it, and it creates washouts, and it's going to wash out around the foundation. So we're going to try and correct that today. So when the water comes off that dormer there, that single dormer, it comes down here and it washes this out. So we'll throw up some footage here of when I had this graded, or when I graded this back last winter. But you can see there's easily a foot of dirt that's washed out on this side. The other side isn't as bad, and the actual drip line from the roof isn't bad at all. So we're gonna just kind of address these two areas with a drainage system, a French drain system, and then we're probably just gonna sod in between. So there's a close-up of the washout there. It's pretty significant. And you can see the drip line coming off the roof. It's not too bad. And then there's the other washout. The way we're going to address that washout is we're going to create boxes with railroad ties, and then we're going to line that with some sort of fabric, whether it's plastic or some silk cloth that I have. And then I got some basins to go in each one and some drain lines. Then we're going to run that water out about 20 feet or so to like this pop-up type of thing. And as the water comes off the roof, it'll go into the French drain, it'll go into the pipe, and then it'll just disperse out here and go down this hill behind me. Okay guys, half the battle is getting the materials in place, but here's the idea. I want to take a piece of the railroad tie and come out here, let's call it 2 feet. I'll have to measure. I'll cut the railroad ties with my chainsaw. Then I'll run a railroad tie here, let's call it 6 feet, maybe it's more. And then I'll run another railroad tie. So I'll create like a U here. I'll get that sloped inside of that box. And then I'll put a basin inside of there, an elbow coming out to a pipe, and let me lay that out for you and show you what that looks like. So I got some of this pipe with holes in it, so I'm gonna probably cut this pipe about that long, put the basin on one end, put an elbow on the other end, and that way we'll slope all the water to the basin. It'll go inside this pipe, it'll go in the elbow, and it'll go out into the lawn. And then after I get that all set up and I get that elbow and I get the pipe running this way, I'm gonna run this pipe underground, have a slight slope to it, and at the end put an elbow that comes up to pop it. And so the water will flow down there, have nice head pressure, it'll get to that poppet, it'll pop that poppet up, and the water will flow on down the hill. So that's what we're gonna do 2 times here to save the foundation of this house from the water running off from that dormer. All right guys, I went and got a tape measure, and I'm gonna cut these off at 8 foot. So we'll have 8 foot going long ways with the house, and then probably a foot or 2 coming out from the house. I haven't measured that one yet. Okay, with this railroad tie being 8 foot, I'm gonna mark the center here at 4 foot with my ground marking tool, also called a screwdriver. Mark the ends. Okay, I decided on 30 inches. So we're gonna have an 8 foot wide and 30 inch away from the foundation basin. And I based that on the water that's sitting, the water line that's sitting there where it washed out. I think if I make it too short, then water might hit the top of the railroad ties and then cause a different type of erosion. So I want the water to actually go in the basin. I could have dug this out by hand, but it's packed pretty good. I'll put a video link up here from where I packed in this dirt and landscaped around this house and did the backfill. But this is red clay. It's packed really good. I took the post hole diggers and scratched it a little bit, and I was like, nope, I'm gonna grab Precious, our excavator. So we have a video out there where I talk about, are these worth it? You know, owning an excavator versus renting one. And today's project is a prime example of when I needed an excavator. It's going to make the job a lot easier, but I would never rent one just for this job. I would either gut it out, I guess, and dig it with post hole diggers by hand, or I would let the jobs line up until I could rent one and make it worthwhile. But owning this excavator means I just bring it out of the shed, come over here, dig a little bit, and then put it back in the shed. I really don't know what my grade is up there, so I didn't dig too much because I'm just going to have to take a shovel and put it back in there and pack it. But I just wanted to get that 8 foot by 30 inch square box kind of dug out a little bit and also loosened up, because that clay was packed, and with just the tines of the bucket of the excavator, just loosening it up, that'll make it a lot easier to shovel. All right, guys, I almost got this first box done. And like anything that you do, if you don't do it a bunch of times, you know, you learn every time you do it until you perfect it. And what I found was I probably didn't have to dig out that center with the excavator. I probably could have just dug where the actual railroad ties go, because I ended up putting a lot of that fill dirt back in here and packing it. But the way I packed in this fill dirt, I did it like a shower basin where all the corners and everything kind of flow to the middle. And it changed the way that I'm going to put my basin in. So this is my basin, and what I was going to do was put the basin in one corner and then run some perforated line to catch water through this whole area, and then do an elbow and then go out to the line, and then out in the yard you'd have this pop-up where the water would pop up from the head pressure coming downhill. But what I found was that I could slope this just like a shower basin. I can put this basin here, I'll sink it lower, this outlet pipe right here, I'll put underneath this railroad tie, and I'll dig a trench with the excavator 20 feet out. And that way it'll be just a very simple hookup. I'll just put the green sewage pipe into here, fasten it with a screw, and that'll be one basin. All the water will collect. And I think that will be fine, because we're not trying to collect the whole gutter, the whole side of this 60 foot of this house. We're just trying to collect where it comes off that dormer in this 8 foot by 30 inch basin. Hopefully get the other one done today, but this is taking way longer than I thought it would. But it's going to come out real nice, but it's very time consuming. So this may be an all weekend project. I may only get this one completely done before I can move on to the next one. Hear it on this channel a lot. I just love that excavator. Let me spin around so we can appreciate it. That thing right there just saved me, I don't know, quite a bit of time digging that trench, and also a lot of energy. This Florida sun takes a lot out of you, and having that thing so that I can just quickly dig you know, a 20-foot trench, and it leaves me with the energy in this hot sun to be able to put in the pipe and to lay down the stone and all that. Whereas if I had to dig that by hand, I'd be totally wiped out. So Joe the farmer, he's a good friend of mine out there in YouTube land. He's always saying you need a cab on your tractor. And I don't have a cab on my Kubota L3901 tractor, but I do have an excavator, and I wouldn't trade my excavator for a cab on my tractor. Okay, I've got a good fit to my basement with the pipe, and I've got a good slope going down here. But I don't know if you can see, but I overdug the trench about a good 4 inches, maybe even more. And that's the bad thing about an excavator, is that you always tend to overdig your trenches. I knew I needed a shallow trench, but I wanted the pipe to be underground, but this is the right height here, so I'm going to come in here with a shovel, backfill up under this pipe, pull the pipe up, and then pack underneath the pipe. What I don't want to happen is water come out through that hole there and then wash down the channel because it's got loose dirt. So I want to get this all packed nice and tight. So I got the bottom of the trench almost the way I want it. It's not perfect. I still got to do a little bit of packing, but I got a good slope. I got a lot of head coming from up there to here. In order for this pipe to be level, it would have to be almost like this. So I got probably a good 6 inches of drop. So what I want to do is on these last maybe couple feet of this pipe, I want this perforated pipe down here, because the pop-up, when there's a lot of water, the pop-up will put water into the yard out here, but when there's not enough water for that pop-up to pop up and disperse the water, there's going to be water left in this pipe. So I want that water to have some way to go into the ground. So I'm going to put several feet of this perforated pipe here at the end. And by several feet, I meant 2 feet 3 inches. I thought I had the trench dug far enough, but I forgot I was putting this on there. Okay, I got the pop-up on there and a couple feet of perforated pipe. So now what I want to do is I want this to be right at ground level so that a lawnmower can go over it. If I take my level, put here, bridge the gap, that's ground level. I want it right there. I think that's got it. If I can keep that right there, I'll check the slope of the rest of the pipe and backfill it. What I don't want to do is at the end for that to come up a little bit and then trap water. By having that little piece of perforated pipe will help a bit, because if water gets trapped, it'll eventually go down into that sandy soil. All right, guys, I went and got some river rock here, and I'm going to put underneath this perforated pipe. Get that done, then I'll put a layer of plastic over top of the pipe so dirt doesn't go down into the rock. And that should give it a good way for that water to go down into the soil. All right, so all this plastic is going to do is keep that dirt from going on the rocks there. Just so that the rocks can keep, percolating water. But it'll keep that so that it stays porous under there and allows that water out of this little section of pipe to go down after this poppet is done. So I really thought I'd get both of these put in today, but there's no way. I mean, I'm looking at the sun. It's definitely got to be after 2 o'clock. And I still got to fill this in. I still got to do plastic and river rock on that one. It just takes so long to do these type of projects. I'm going to do the rest of that with the tractor. I'll just straddle the pipe and pull this dirt over and keep back blading it. It's so full of grass, it's really hard to shovel. So I've got all this area completely sloped down to the basin right here. And that'll allow any water that comes in here to slope down to here, but I don't want it to sink down into this dirt. So I'm going to line it with plastic. And this is actually contractor grade plastic. I don't know how many mils it is, but it's really thick. It was left over from putting the concrete down on the mega shed. So I'm going to take that. I may double it up. I'm not sure. I got plenty of it. And then I'm going to staple it to the railroad ties, and that'll keep it in place. And then I'll put river rock on top of it. All right, guys, that came out pretty nice. The last thing to do here before we put river rock in is to cut around this grate to this basin. So what I'm going to try and do is double thickness, is cut inside a little bit so that it's the hole's a little smaller, and then push it down so it's a tight seal. But I didn't bring a razor blade today. I forgot, so all I have is my knife. Not a very good circle, is it? It's actually 3-ply right here. All right, let's see how this works. Push it down around. There we go, that worked. I just pulled the grate out and then pushed it back in. It's in there solid. This will fill up with water till it comes over this lip. So a little bit of water will stay in here. Not much, but a little bit. Time to go get some river rock. All right, guys, I screeded a bucket of rock. That'll be in a different video, how I screeded out the fines out of this river rock. But I'm gonna spread this out. I think it's enough. I think this is gonna work out pretty good. All right, guys, I'm gonna call that done. It's been a long day in the sun today, but I got one done. I'll get to the other one in a future video. But let's take a look at the final product. So we got an 8-foot railroad tie with 30-inch sides. We got some cleaned river rock and a single NDS basin. Come down here and we got 20 feet of sewage and drain line. And at the very end, we have about 18 inches or 24 inches. And underneath the tractor, is the pop-up. See the pop-up right there. I've been straddling it while I did the grading. But that's it. It's a simple thing to build, but it takes a long time. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of tools involved, and of course a lot of labor. But I hopefully you enjoyed today's video. If you did, give us a big thumbs up at the bottom. Comment down below. We'd love to hear from you. But otherwise, that's all I've got for today. So until the next one, y'all take care out there.